Hey everybody, I'm Elisa Teague. I am senior producer of role-playing games here at Renegade Game Studios, and I'm sitting here with Jonathan Ying.
Hey.
Hi, Jonathan. He is the designer of Heroes of the Grid and a huge Power Rangers fan. You know everything. You're probably going to be able to correct me on stuff, actually. So we're today going to be designing your very own Power Rangers role-playing game character. And
I'm so excited.
Finally make the character of your dreams any way you want them. So we are going to begin pretty much right away. But before we jump right into things, I want to talk a little bit about what goes into making a Power Rangers character. And so there are two main structures of character creation in the Essence 20 system. And the first one is your three-pronged character, which is made up of your origin, your role, and your influence. And those are things that we are going to choose today. Your origin is basically who you were, what type of personality you had before you were called up to the power, right? Your role is what is your role in the team, and your influence is what has affected you through your life, whether it was when you were younger or now, or whenever, that has affected your character the way they are. And actually with influences, you can choose more than one. We will get to that. So that's the first area of character creation. The second thing is the notion of essence score. So this is the Essence 20 system, and your essences are made up of 4 parts. Those are strength, speed, smarts, and social. So as you're making those choices for your origins and your roles, and your influence is more based on perks that are role-playing perks, but so mostly the first 2, you are going to get some bonus essences in those 4 categories. And then you're also going to get a spread to spend however you want, so you can invest those in skills. And put together, that makes up your own unique character. So I'd like you and everybody watching to turn to page 14 in the core rule book. And 14, these are the main steps of making a character. What was that, Jonathan?
Page 14, got it.
14.
Yeah, following along.
So we're gonna go step by step, exactly how the book does it, and we are going to create your character. What you'll need is a copy of the core rule book, either in physical form or digital form. A copy of the character sheet, either printed out in front of you. I recommend using a pencil because there are different steps in this that will change the numbers that you're going to be putting in here. Or you can use the PDF. We have a fillable PDF on our website that you can download for free. And you can use that. And
I downloaded the form fillable version. So we've got that right over here in the other tab from my core rulebook.
Perfect. So the first thing you'll notice at the top of your character sheet is a space for your character name and pronouns. Now, I generally name my character when I'm done creating it, because sometimes I'll pick some things and I'll get like an idea for a nickname or something cool. But if you have something in mind already, you can write that down there. You don't have to do it now. Same goes for your description of what you look like and all of that. That's actually in our steps later.
Yeah, I think I'll keep that in the back pocket. I'll ponder on what name feels the most appropriate for this character.
Perfect. And so then the first thing we want to do is come up with your character concept in general. So when you think about what kind of character you want to play, who are they?
Well, let's see. I think for this, I really like the idea of being a ranger, like one of the support rangers, right? Like one of my favorite, throughout the series, a lot of my favorite characters are like often the comic relief or the heart or the brains. Like the frontline fighters are always really fun, but I really like being able to facilitate cool moves for my partners and to kind of be someone that the other rangers can really rely on in that support role. I think we talked about this a little bit earlier, but I was always really enamored with when Power Rangers have hobbies. Like I'm a huge fan of how like Ninja Steel Blue was like a stage magician in his background. And I was thinking, I've been watching a lot of cooking YouTube in the last few months. So I love the idea of a ranger who is a or at least an aspiring professional chef, like a ranger who really loves cooking and like makes meals for everyone. Like after the big adventure, they all go to their house and like kind of have a good meal. Like something like, what if Ernie was one of the teammates or something like that? Like someone. Yeah, I think I like the idea of them being very support heavy and just as their personal thing being like a cook, or
Okay.
someone who like makes food.
That sounds like a great person to have on the team, especially after a long mission. You go back and just relax with some yummy eats. So I would definitely want you on my ranger team if you're a good chef. So yeah, we can definitely do that. So all right. Do you have an idea? Well, we don't have to get to it quite yet. So let's go into what our origin is going to be. Now, remember, your origin is who you were before you were called up to the power, what your personality type is. And from what you told me, you're giving me a couple of ideas of what you could be, but your selections from the core rule book that you can choose from for origins are athletic, brainy, comedic, curious, cynical, kind, oddball, popular, rebellious, and tragic. Now, all of these have in-depth descriptions that you can read under those headers in the book, but they pretty much spell out what they are. Now, do any of those pop out at you? I mean, obviously, you're somebody who likes to cook for your friends, and you're a support character, you said. So,
Like, yeah, kind seems like a good,
that's
like,
what I was thinking.
yeah, a good reflexive one. Although, like, if popular might be kind of fun if they want to be like a YouTuber, right? They like do social media stuff, like Instagramming their food. But
That's true.
yeah, let's
So
go with kind though. Let's go with kind. I like the idea of them being just a very soft, nice character.
that sounds great. Okay, so what you are going to want to do is you're going to look at the top of your character sheet right under name. You'll see a space that says origin. So you want to write kind in that space. Just to remind yourself what you chose, if you ever need to refer back to the book to take a look at what your choices are, and just as your basic description. And so when you are kind, you start with certain stats. All origins start with different stats. And a kind character has their starting health. That's the first thing we're going to do. And you begin with 1 health. So under the health box, which is sort of in the middle
I see
to the
it.
left, you want to put a 1 right there. Now,
Yep.
don't worry. That doesn't mean you only have 1 health forever. You can increase this by buffing up your conditioning. We'll talk about that when we're picking skills. And as you level up, that will go up as well. But
at a baseline, I am alive, so I've got at least the 1 health.
Baseline is you can be hit once. Actually, no, you're hit once and you're down, basically.
Dead, but like, yeah.
But
at the moment, they're a little fragile. That's okay.
In essence, 20 though, when you are knocked out, you aren't killed. You are defeated. And so being
and what
defeated,
that means can vary depending on the situation and what's going on and how merciful the GM might be in the moment.
Exactly. Generally speaking, in combat, it means you can choose to be knocked out of your morphed form. And then you still have 1 health, but you're back into whatever your unmorphed form is, whether it's human or something else. And then, or if you choose to not be knocked out because you don't want to, reveal your secret identity or whatever it is for role-playing reasons, you're taken out of combat, you're knocked out unconscious or whatever the game master says. And you will then have to figure out, you and your teammates will have to figure out how to get around whatever the obstacle was in a different way. So not to worry too much, but we'll talk about health in a little bit. But that's your starting health. And so then we move, you can see right underneath starting health, it says essence score increase options. So every origin allows you to increase your essence score in a category depending on what you chose. And for kind, you get to choose between smarts and social. So I know right now it's like, okay, well, which one am I going to go with? Smarts gives you things like skills in alertness or culture, which might be cool for cooking stuff, science, survival, and technology. And social is more like you get animal handling. I don't know, that didn't really come up quite yet in your description, but deception and performance, which is also cooking, like how well can you do it? Persuasion, how you talk your way out of things, and streetwise. I mean, maybe you're getting ingredients on the black market. I don't know. So, who knows? So right now you can choose. I mean, you're choosing between the two. I don't want you to worry too much about your choices because you are going to get 12 essence points to spend across all four, however you want at the end of this. So your choices here are great for role-playing reasons and for that extra little boost if you're really trying to like craft your character exactly mechanically how you want to as well. But you will have ways to boost one essence over another later. So right now
I would be choosing between smarts or social, and I would get the skill die or spore specialization for the one that I pick in this.
Yes, it's going to give you a choice of what to choose from. For your origin and your role, it directs you to a skill that you have to choose or a choice of skills that you have to choose from. Later, when you get those free points, you can put them in whatever skills you want. So if you want to know a little bit ahead of time, your smart choices right now, you would be choosing alertness, culture, science, or technology. Your social would be either animal handling, performance, or persuasion. Those are the kind choices.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those situations where if I were like in a bigger party, I would kind of be checking with the other party members to be like, okay, hey, does anyone else like, you kind of sometimes don't really need to double stack on things like animal handling, right? But in the moment, given that I get in a vacuum, I'm kind of leaning towards social, honestly. I like the idea of like, and we can actually lean into like animal handling if they're really big on like sustainable food, like sustainable farming, like good, kind of ethical practices for growing food, maybe even encouraging things like vegetarianism. I think they definitely like animals. Whether or not I go full like silver spoon, they like worked on a farm, we'll see. But I think I'm going to go social. So do I put in the 1 point into social right now?
Yes. So right in that little box next to social, put a 1.
Okay.
And that will change, but for right now, it is a 1. And now we want to invest in that skill rank right now. And the choices for kind are animal handling, performance, and persuasion. Do you want to go with the animal handling? Performance is good for cooking, but animal handling is really great in a lot of ways, not only for your reasons, but I mean, you never know when you're going to, be teleported to like a jungle
a weird alien planet.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I think in the moment, let's go with performance. I think I like the idea of them being a little bit of a showman with the cooking.
So what you're going to do is you're going to fill in the little bubble that says D2 next to performance. And what that means is that every single time you roll a performance skill test, you are not only going to roll your D20, but you're going to add your D2 roll to it. So you get like a little bit of a boost, and you are now skilled in performance.
Cool.
So that is very cool. And so now you get to determine your ground movement, and the ground movement for kind is 30 feet. Generally speaking, the most rangers at level 1 are going to be 30 feet. And so that you want to put under movement, which is right above health to the right.
Yep, 30 feet.
You can just put a 30 right there. That means that if you're playing Theater of the Mind and your game master says, they're
like 20 feet away, I could get to them.
Yeah,
got
you
it.
can get to them. Yeah, exactly. If you're playing with a map in front of you, you can count
it's about
the spaces.
6 spaces. Yeah.
You got it. You know what you're doing.
I know. I've been to this rodeo. I know.
You've been through this rodeo. Okay,
RPGs.
Perfect. So that's that one. And then, so languages. Each origin gives you starting languages. You will always know your fluent native language, which you get to select. And you also, as a kind person, get 1 additional language for every 3 points of social you possess. Now, don't worry. Right now, you have 1.
That'll be at the end. Right now, I just have the 1.
At the end, you need to just remember you get that. You get that. So, and you can always go back and check it, or make a little note of it. But right now, what is your native language?
Well, let's go with whatever the local language would be where we're all living. I'm gonna assume if this is an American group, given that we are all American teammates, we'll go with English. I think we'll go with
Okay.
English as native.
So in the top right box, you'll see the languages box. You can write English right there. And so you automatically know English. And as you grow with your social score, you will pick up other languages, right? And you can fill those in later. And it's really fun to like make up reasons of why you know these things. Maybe you did go to culinary school in France or something and you learned French, or maybe you just watched too many cooking shows, you haven't gone yet.
Got really
and
into
learned
the
it that way.
documentary film Ratatouille.
Exactly. Okay, so all right, and then the last thing you get with your origin is you get a benefit, right? Your origin benefit, which for kind is, I know a guy, and I'm going to read these because these are always fun. You've been so nice to so many people in your lifetime. You have friends in the strangest places with a variety of talents. If you need a favor, some information, or perhaps the use of a skill that your team does not possess, once per day, you can communicate with a friendly acquaintance and make a difficulty 12 persuasion skill check. So right now, you might want to keep that in mind. You're not skilled in persuasion. Doesn't mean you can't roll it, but
Quite yet. Yeah.
But it's a good thing to keep in mind because you have this. If you're successful, your acquaintance will gladly help you out with whatever you are lacking in the moment. It's a really cool perk. So you want to write that down on the back of your or second page of your character sheet.
So that go under perks?
Yes, you can put that under perks. And that is, or you can put it under your notes, wherever it is that you'll see it more efficiently for you. Everybody likes, but I've been saying this in each of these videos that I've been doing. I do like to write these out more than just in shorthand. But I'm really detailed and meticulous with my note taking during my game sessions. And so I always start like a new notebook for characters, and I have a page that has all of this written out, so I remember. Otherwise, I may forget, and I don't want to ever forget, especially a really cool thing like that. So
definitely.
So yes,
what
so
I love about this form fillable sheet is that I can just type whatever I want, and I'm not limited by my like giant handwriting. Like I have to kind of squeeze in all my abilities. It'll just resize it as I type more, which is great.
Yeah, that's really nice. So that's really good. But remember, it's based on persuasion. So when we're
I'll definitely
in skill
look
ranks
into
later, we'll think
specking
about
into that as a skill. That'll be useful.
Perfect. Okay, so that's it for origins.
Yeah,
it's done.
Cool.
We're already past this first step. And so we're going to move on to step 3, which is choosing a role. Now, roles in the Essence 20 system and in Power Rangers specifically, the roles are tied to the Ranger spectrum. So basically, it's what color Ranger do you want to be? These Ranger roles are tied to energy colors. So this is going to be the type of energy that you have. Aesthetically, those can match. They don't have to. Most people do like them to match, but there are specific types of weapons and other powers that might tie into your energy color. So even if you are a pink ranger, you may decide to make a build, like aesthetically, you might decide to make a build that is actually, Green Ranger because you want the energy build for that, but you can do it however you want. We can basically make any character you want with this system, and that's what we're going to prove through these videos today. And so each one is going to give you a different type of balance of essence score adjustments. I don't know if you want to read through a little bit or what you're leaning towards as far as type of character. You said you wanted to be a support character. But all of these essences have different support abilities. The main combat ones obviously are strength and speed. Strength is going to be tied into your might, which would be melee weapons and things like that, close combat fighting. Speed is usually tied into more ranged fighting combat, although hand-to-hand combat with no weapon, unarmed basically, can be either speed or strength, depending what kind of fighting your character does in your mind. So you can have a different combination depending on what ranger color you're thinking. So what were you thinking of when you envision the ranger in your head?
Let's see. I mean, well, it's a little tough. Like, I mean, I like the idea of being like possibly blue, maybe green. Like usually kind of the quirkier characters are like blue, green, maybe. I'm a big fan of Pink Rangers. I tend to make them a little overpowered in Heroes of the Grid, or so I'm told. They just tend to be really strong damage dealers in Heroes of the Grid. Let's see. I kind of like let's see. The smarts, I feel like speed, definitely speed leaning. So like I want like this character to be fast, like maybe even they were a delivery person, right? They would like they'd be a courier almost. So yeah, like maybe pink, yellow, or blue. Yeah, I think pink, yellow, or blue.
I think that if you lean into, if you do something like blue, you're going to get a fast power capacity growth, which we'll talk about a little bit. That's the powers that you get to use. It actually, as you level up, you'll get more of those faster, which is really cool. So you can really stack how many powers you can use per day. You're also going to get 2 smarts, like +2 to your smarts essence and +1 to your speed. Smarts for you as an aspiring chef will give you, those culture things, but also just as a ranger in general, alertness is pretty important. That is how well you see things, how well you hear things, how well you track things, or can perceive somebody who's maybe sneaking up to you. So those are pretty important, but everything in here is important. It's just how you choose. So you can also go, if you were leaning towards pink, that's going to give you higher in the speed. So it's going to give you +2 to speed, and it's going to give you another social. So you were talking about maybe picking up animal handling. You could then
let's go with blue. Let's go with blue. I'm actually kind of liking the idea of getting a little more of that kind of that intellect, that more awareness, like keeping everything together. I think having that, and like plus I'll get more like cultural knowledge and stuff. I think that'll be
that's cool. Okay, so then we're going to turn to the blue section, and that is on page 36, and that's where you're going to get all of your details about the Blue Ranger. It's going to give you a nice overview about a basic archetype for Blue Ranger.
Kind of the standard, again, you're building iconic
your character. So this is just the basic archetype, but it is going to give you your Blue Ranger leveling chart, which you'll be using mostly for later, but you can see there's a first level entry there that basically talks about your role perks, but we can just jump down to where those things are in the book so we can fill out the character sheet. So I want you to jump down to Spectrum Role Features on page 37. And this is where you're going to see what you get as a Blue Ranger. So your personal power regeneration as a Blue Ranger is 4 per day. Now, at level 1, you start with just 2, and that's in the chart right there under personal power capacity. So what I'd like you to do is right next to movement, just right to the left of it, you want to put 2 there.
2, got it.
However, it's good to keep in mind, and of course you always want to refer back to this, that every day you regenerate 4 as you sleep. So as you level up, especially since your growth is so fast, at level 4 as a Blue Ranger, you're going to have 4 personal power points, right? And at level 4 in some of the other ones, you're still down at 2, right? And so you are going to increase much faster, but you also get to regenerate much faster. So that's a really cool thing to have.
In exchange, it looks like we've got these other stats. Our growth rate's sort of different. Like personal power is I have a high personal power growth rate, but I can see my strength growth rate is comparatively weak. They're
all the essence powers are all balanced as far as where how much you eventually grow. It's just at what stage do they grow. So yes, your strength, the next time you're going to get a strength increase as a Blue Ranger is going to be at level 4. So that's a good thing to keep in mind as you're distributing those other essence points that you're going to get later. Like maybe you're going to want to put them in summon strength right now because you know you're not going to get another boost automatically until level 4. So that's always a good thing to look at if you want to look ahead and build out your character that way. Some people like to build out their characters more on the role-playing side, and wherever the chips fall, the chips fall. And some people really want to look deep into, you know, the talent tree, like what kind of skills and powers you can choose and what type of level progression you have. And, you know, maybe like metagame a little bit, but also build the optimal character that they want to play. And both ways of building a character, perfectly valid. So we put that 2 on your character sheet under personal power. Okay, wonderful.
Power,
and so we then move on to training. So the training is going to give you your starting armor and your starting skill ranks based on those essence scores. So for armor, you're trained in light and medium armor.
Makes sense.
So you always have to train armor progressively. You can wear the light armor if you want to, but you should probably wear the medium because the medium is going to give you +2 to your morph toughness, and the light's going to give you +1. So you want to wear the medium armor?
Sure, yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
You do. And so, but if for any reason there's something that happens in game that says, oh, something happens to this armor, or you can't get this armor for whatever reason, you can only wear light armor in this situation.
I need to borrow a friend's armor.
Yeah, you can always wear the light. But
medium armor is getting dry cleaned right now. I gotta, got it.
At the dry cleaner, yes. So now because of that, we know medium armor gives us +2. That's actually just right on the next page. But since it says it right now, I always like to write it down when we know we have it.
So I would put that down under armor.
Yeah, under strength, you'll see there's like a calculation. It says 10 plus empty box plus armor.
Just pop the 2 in there right now.
Just pop a 2 right there. We're going to do this calculation at the end, but it's good to just put the 2 there. We know we have that +2 for armor. And then we have our starting skill ranks. So we know that we have for the Blue Ranger, we're getting a +1 in our speed and a +2 in our smarts. So we want to put that 1 in speed right now.
Got it. Yep.
And 2 in smarts. This is just like what we did for Origins with the social one, except this is our role essence increases. And so we also get our choice now of where we're investing those skill ranks, just like you chose performance for social. So for starting skill ranks for Blue Ranger, you can put for your speed +1 in either finesse or targeting, and +1
in science and technology.
+1 in finesse or targeting, because you get 1 speed increase and you have to choose between those 2 for blue. So finesse is going to allow you to use certain types of weapons that are finesse based weapons, and that will add to your attack for those. There are also certain activities that you could do that your game master might determine as a finesse based skill, and that would work. Targeting is for ranged based weapons mostly, but it also might be you need to throw this baseball at this thing, right? And GM might say make a targeting, or they might say make an athletics also, who knows?
I think cooking, you want to go finesse, right? You want to be high dexterity, got to have those knife skills.
I love the fact that you are leaning into the role playing on this and the character concept. I love it. So yes, so put that little bubble next to finesse. It says
and
DQ.
then 1 in science and tech. Got it.
Right. So yes, science. You get 1 in science and 1 in tech for smarts, and so you fill those bubbles into. And so that means that you are skilled in these things. You will roll the D2 along with your D20 whenever making a skill test that is related to that skill. And so what I always like to do at every stage is make sure that the bubbles that you're filling out match, the number of bubbles match the number at the top of each essence score. So right now under speed, you have 1, there should be 1 bubble. Under smarts, you have 2, there should be 2 bubbles. And under social, you have 1, there should be 1 bubble. We good?
Yep, looks great.
Perfect. You can always check your work at any time during character creation to make sure that that is done right. And so now we have our grid equipment. So all Rangers are going to start with a risk communicator, a power morpher. You can write these down on in your notes or on the back of your
inventory section.
And you are going to get a blade blaster. Your blade blaster works as a melee weapon for the blade that deals sharp damage, and it also works as a little tiny blaster for
Ranger
targeting.
sidearm.
That's right. And so you can put your blade blaster on in your weapons listing. That's on the back of your character sheet. If you're going to use it really often, I like to put it under attacks on the front of the character sheet, just so it's like right there. You can put it in both places. What I also like to do, because they do 2 different types of attacks, I usually list it on 2 lines just so I can see my choices. So you will want to write that out twice. We're going to fill out the
once we have
part.
I'm sure it'll correspond to whatever the blade blaster's stats are. But the blade blaster is the standard weapon, and a two-handed power
all
weapon.
Of your weapons, all of your weapons in general are all going to do the same amount of damage, and all of that is always listed on your weapons chart.
Cool.
The difference between character to character is how good are you at using that weapon, and that depends on your skills. So we don't fill that part out just yet because you haven't assigned all your skills yet.
Got it.
Okay, so now you also get a 2-handed power weapon. So we can choose this now. I've been choosing it now just because, again, it's right there in front of us. And it's fun. So you can flip over to the weapons chart if you want to. The weapons chart is on page 109 or 108. It starts. Okay. And you can go and take a look. If you look under the column that says hands, anything that says 2 is going to be a good choice for you since it's a 2-handed weapon. We have a power sword as a choice, a power lance, a power bow. The bow obviously is going to be using
targeting.
But you also have the power bow does have a finesse requirement because you need finesse to use it. So so those are some good starting choices under your limited choices. But if you flip the page, there are more. Now you don't necessarily need to make this choice now. You can save it for later, but you can keep it in mind, up to you on what you want to do. But if you have a concept in your mind, like, oh, I really want this type of weapon, even if it's not listed specifically here on this chart, there's probably an equivalent that your game master can work with you and say, yes, this weapon may look a little different, but it has these exact properties. Most of these are influences from the first, like the Zordon years, basically, first few seasons. And we are going to be giving examples of even more weapons choices in future supplements that borrow influence from all different seasons, but you can really create whatever you want. So if there's a weapon that's even out of your own imagination, you say it kind of does this, I'm sure you'll find matching stats in this chart.
Yeah, this would be the point where it's like, okay, how wacky is the game we're playing, right? Like, because some of the seasons of Power Rangers are sillier than others, right? Just because of the nature of the Sentai series. Like some of the more train themed ones, Turbo was a little wackier originally, and so like, yeah, the question is like, okay, does my character have like an actual weapon, or is it like, oh, it's a giant whisk that shoots lasers? Like, we got options. I think, let's see, to get a little optimizy, right? Let's see, is the golden power staff single, one-handed, or 2?
It is 2.
2. Let's go with the power staff. I like the finesse-based melee on
Love
that
it.
one.
Okay, so you're going to want to write that one down.
Yep.
You are going to need to have your finesse pumped up to a D6 to be able to do that, though. So remember when you're spending your points that you're going to have to invest your skill rank up to a D6, or else you're not going to be able to wield it.
Yeah, I'll get there.
So and that's fine. We just need to remember when we do that so that you can actually use it. Otherwise, you can choose a different weapon later. If you say, oh, you know what, I don't actually want to do that, you can always change it.
Cool.
But so for now, you have your golden power staff. Perfect.
Lots of little interlocking pieces.
Yeah, you can write now if you want to, but we usually kind of do it at the end. You can put in what the effects are. So your golden power staff is going to do a stun too, but then it has an alternate effect where With a shift down, you can do a blunt one, or I'm sorry, you can just do a blunt one, or with a shift down, you can do an energy one. These are the effects you can fill in. The only thing you don't want to fill in right now is the attack part, because that's based on skills.
That'll be based on, yeah.
And we're changing that right now. We're doing it right now.
Okay.
So perfect. So you've made that basic selection. So far, you seem very cool. And then the only part, I mean, you can always read ahead into blue. This starts talking about all the different things you get as you level up. So it's nice to see where you're going to level into. But for level 1 character creation, you don't really need much more of this section. The only thing you need to know is what happens when it's morphin time. And so when it's morphin time, and that's right on the next page, page 38, and this applies to all ranger roles, your toughness bonus is going to go up based on that armor that you get, which we already filled in as a 2, right? And then all of your jump distances are going to be tripled.
Yeah, I got to do those backflips.
That's right. And then as a free action, you can summon your power weapon to your hand. So you don't need pockets. You don't need to figure out where you stashed your weapon. It just appears as a free action. And when you are reduced to health, we talked about this a little bit earlier. When you're reduced to health, you would normally be defeated. But if you want to, you can just demorph and be in your unmorphed form at 1 health instead. And then run away, or do it, or hide, or do whatever you want to do, instead of just being knocked out. And who knows what happens then. So that's it. And so now we are done with roles.
Cool.
Easy peasy. So the next step is choosing your influences. So influences start on page, I'll get there. Well, the whole section starts on page 64, and it talks about what goes into your influence and what influences mean. But I'm going to explain that all short form right now. So you can actually flip to page 66 to start looking at what your selections are. But basically, your influences are what has happened to you during your lifetime to influence who you are as a person, right? Or either in your normal life or as a ranger, either way. Usually it's what your normal life is, but it will also affect your heroic personality, right? And so these are things like your choices from the core rule book are artisan, which I think is what
that seems like the obvious one for this one, which I'm leaning towards. Yeah,
as a chef for sure.
Right.
But the other ones, I mean, I don't know if you had a chance to look through it, but we have caretaker, community helper, small town roots. Like, did you come from a rural place? Martial artist, maybe you're trained in hand-to-hand combat. Nomad, do you move around a lot? Not from around here. A student, or a survivor, or a teacher. So you could be a mentor. A survivor is, have you overcome, something in your life that you have survived and that has influenced you a lot. Now, artisan as a chef definitely stands out, but I want to point out, you can, if you want to, you don't have to, you can take more than one influence. There is a downside. Well, I see it as an upside, but there is a downside to taking more than one influence, which is you also get a hang up in addition to the benefits that you get, the perks that you get. The hang ups in game while you're role playing can maybe present some obstacles to you. I think obstacles are fun, but some people
make the game a little more interesting.
Yeah, strong all the way. Then maybe they don't want to hang up, or maybe one just doesn't apply. So right now, you think artisan also?
See, I think definitely artisan. Artisan, if I double up, it'd probably be into student, right? Like, I feel like they're young person, still they're still getting the hang of all of getting their skills, right? Like
maybe they are actually in culinary school.
Yeah, right. Like
that would be both, but that's up to you. So let's
keep it simple. Let's keep it simple. Let's just go artisan. Let's go nice and straightforward.
So under influences, which is the box that's right to the left of where your health is, you want to write artisan.
Artisanal.
Right. And so you're not going to have a hang up right now. Because if you only take one influence, you don't need the hang up. You don't get the hang up. Which is fine. But your influence perk, which you're going to want to write under your perks on the back of your sheet, is that you gain an edge when your art comes into play. Now, an edge means whenever you roll a d20, you're actually rolling 2 d20s and taking the higher number of the two. So whenever your art comes into play, your art is probably going to be cooking, such as when performing, sharing techniques, or applying your art to a mission. You are passionate about your art style and gain an edge on social and smart skill tests where your art style applies. So anytime you have to cook, you get to roll 2 d20s, take the higher value.
Or if it's like a food-themed villain, like my personal favorite, Pudgy Pig, where it's like, what if we fed him spicy food and then he explodes? No, like,
I mean, you would know that, and you would probably, if your game master is saying, okay, you need to find something spicy,
find or make.
Now.
Yeah,
and you say, okay, I'm looking for it. I'm going to roll my my alertness, right, or survival, or whatever it is, right? And so those are smart skills. When you roll your survival, like to be finding some sort of weird root that happens to be spicy, you'll have a better chance of finding it. So that's a perfect suggestion of an example. So thank you. All right, so write down that perk. You can write it in shorthand if you want to. Again, I usually like to write out full notes somewhere else, or on the back of the sheet somewhere. I usually don't print my character sheets back to back for that very reason, and I write out
flipping them is always kind of a whole thing.
But you can, however you will remember it most, or you can also just write on your character sheet the page number, and so you just know to flip back to it, so you remember, you get that edge. And then every influence is going to come with some suggested characteristics that include a background bond, right? And for artisan, you get there's a table that you can roll on, but you already know what you want. It doesn't mean that you have to roll on the table and take a random thing. You can, if you don't have an idea and you want a suggestion from the book.
Let's go random. I'm gonna pull out a D12.
Let's do that for your bond. I think we pretty much know your art style is going to be cooking, right?
Yeah, I think I don't need to mess with that. But like, let's see what my bond's
but for your bond, if you want to roll randomly, that's fun.
Yeah,
nobody's done it yet.
Oh, come on now.
Roll a D12.
Live a little. Let's gamble. I'm sure it'll go terrible. No, it's fine. Oh no, 4. Someone stole my work and I'm trying to get it back.
Maybe you have
the secret formula.
I love that.
Formula. I have a secret recipe.
The type of thing.
Someone got famous on YouTube using my recipe.
I mean, that's the type of thing that if you have that and you say it to your game master, that's what they can take and maybe build it into one of the stories for a full campaign, right? So maybe this is an overarching storyline for you where this is, like a secret family recipe or something that you desperately need to get back before it's published or whatever. And that can be like a side mission as all of this other stuff is going on. I mean, when you read comics, when you watch TV shows or whatever, there's always the main, threat that appears that everybody has to deal with, but there's so much else going on in the background that everybody's dealing with. And in role playing, it's the same way. So that's a really cool one. I love it.
Yeah, I'm into it. I'm into it.
All right. So that's your influence, and we're done with influences now.
Yeah.
So the next step is then the big one, which is assigning your essence scores.
Oh boy, here comes the math.
Yeah, I mean, you get 12, right? And so we do recommend, especially for newer players, but you can do whatever you want, to do this in a spread of 4 points, 3 points, 3 points, 2 points. It gives a nice varied score that is still pretty well balanced. Now, we already know that you're starting with 1 speed, 2 smarts, and 1 social. So some people like to put the lower points into where they already have and like build an even spread across. Obviously, an even spread across would be like 4s all the way. But you might want to pump one much higher than another because you have a strong character concept, which you sort of do. So
yeah, I think, let's see, I'm comfortable leaving my strength at 2, something fairly like, it's okay if they're a little flimsy. Let's see. And for the other 2, let's see, I'm looking, let's see, I'm not too worried about them being able to drive. Ooh, initiative's kind of nice though. Let's see. For the other two, let's go smarts. I don't think they need to be that smart. I mean, they're a Blue Ranger, but they're like,
Well,
and
yeah.
they're pretty smart, right? 4 smarts is pretty smart.
So you're going to put 2 in smarts.
Yeah, on top of the 2 that I already started with. So that
Okay, so that is breaking the spread, but you don't have to go with the suggested spread if you don't want to. So
oh right, no, it's right. I could put 3 in smarts. Okay, yeah, that puts my smarts up to 5. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Then let's see the other 3. Let's go into speed, and for 4, let's put it into social.
Okay, so
That's
what
me.
I'm seeing, and let's make sure we match. You
Yep.
have 2 in strength, 4 in speed, 5 in smarts, and 5 in social total.
Yeah.
Okay, and so that should always add up to 16, which it does. So we know that we did all of that correctly. And so now we're going to do these little calculations and invest all of these new points into skill ranks. So for strength, we always, your toughness,
got 2 points.
All across the board, your defenses are going to be unmorphed. You're going to be 10 plus whatever your essence score is. So for toughness, it's going to be a 12.
Nice.
And so, but then we want to calculate your morphed form. At level 1, generally speaking, it's only going to be 10 plus your essence score.
Plus your
and then in strength, it's your armor. But generally speaking, you're not going to have perks and stuff until later that are going to affect these morphed scores. So under strength, it will say 10 plus essence. We want to put a 2 there because you have 2 strength. You don't have any perks right now that affect this. Plus 2, so your morphed toughness is a 14, which means if somebody's attacking you and you're defending with toughness, they have to roll higher than a 14 to hit you. It's not great, but it's not terrible either.
Could be worse.
And so now you have 2 strength essences to invest in skill ranks. And this is the same thing we did before, except this time you get to choose on your own. It's not.
So what's conditioning exactly compared to like
conditioning is where you're going to get that extra health. So conditioning is one of 2 rare examples that you don't specialize in them. Conditioning is the only one where it's not tied to a die roll. So when you invest in conditioning, your health automatically just goes up by 1. So you can put a point there and get a health of 2. So you're not defeated immediately when you're hit. That's pretty good.
That seems pretty good, yeah.
I mean, remember, you're not going to get a strength boost as a Blue Ranger until level 4. So
I'm going to honestly put 2 into conditioning. I'm going to just go like characters healthy. Okay. Like they're they eat well, they're healthy. They're just not particularly buff. They're
Yep, that sounds good. So you now have a 3 health. So I want you to fill out the 2 little bubbles next to conditioning. Change your health from 1 to 3 because you just added 2 to it.
Yep.
And so now, just to double check, because we do this every single time, you have a 2 in strength. There should be 2 bubbles filled out.
2 bubbles. Yep.
Perfect. So we'll move to speed. So you have 3. Oh, well, let's do the calculation first. So your evasion is a 14 because it's always 10 plus your score. And down right below, this is going to be the same calculation. We don't have it. We already know you don't have any of these perks, so we can leave those other boxes empty. So you have a 10 plus a 4. Your morphed evasion is also a 14. So right now, when you're morphed, it just so happens that whether you're defending with toughness, meaning you're going to like tough out and try to take the hit.
Yeah, it's always 14, which is dodging, easy on the DM.
Yeah, right now, as you level up, it's going to change and get more perks and things like that. And then, so now you have 3 more points to invest in skill ranks under speed. Your choices here are acrobatics, which is good for like climbing or jumping or doing flips in the air, all sorts of Power Rangers things. Driving, which is cool. It depends. This is the type of thing where, yeah, maybe you do want to talk to people on your team. But driving is really good, especially if you need to jump into another Zord that may not be yours.
A giant robot.
But, yeah. But
I think, let's see, I need at least 3 in finesse to use the power weapon I want to use. So I'm already, right. So that's already a lot of it.
I'm glad you remember that. So you can put 2 in there to get to that requirement.
And so for my last one, let's toss it into initiative, I think. That seems like I don't
Right. So
feel like being stealthy and ranged combat isn't really my go-to. So yeah.
that's perfect. So initiative is basically when combat starts, everybody will roll initiative and it will determine who is going first.
I get a slight
So
boost on my initiative.
right.
Yeah.
And you know, I said this in one of the other videos, the initiative is not necessarily a competition between you and your teammates. It's between you and the threats, because the threats also roll for initiative. So you always just want to make sure that you have a jump on them. So having something in initiative is always a good idea. So now we're going to count up our bubbles. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have 4 speed.
That's about right.
So I think we're good.
Yeah.
All right. Next is smarts. So we're going to do our calculation the exact same way. We're going to put our 15 under willpower. We're going to put that 5 in the little essence thing next to the 10, and our morphed willpower is also a 15 right now. But we get to invest those extra 3 essence points into new skills of your choice under smarts. So refresher is alertness. Choice are things like being able to see and hear and perceive when people are around you, investigate, things like that. Culture is basic knowledge on various things. So your game master might say, make a culture roll if you need to like remember a piece of history or something like that. You can, when you specialize in things, we haven't really talked about that yet. Maybe this is a good time because you actually have high scores. So you might want to specialize in something. You can specialize in a specific type of culture. So those, we have a list of sample specializations that you can take that are in the book, but you can really choose anything you want. So as a chef, and I don't know how much you want to really lean into the chef. We have been leaning into it a lot.
I'm pretty happy to lean in more.
Yeah, maybe there's something very specific culturally that you want to take. You don't want to be too specific unless it's one of the sample specializations that are in the book. Anything is up to your game master's approval. So you don't want to be too broad either, because they may say, no, you can't specialize in like earth everything, right? Like, that means
I will specialize in.
You might be able to specialize in, Chinese cuisine or even just like culture in general. Like maybe you've traveled to a specific place, or maybe you've gone to like a farming community and studied there for a while, and like you can specialize in farming under culture or those types of things, just as an example. And then there's science. You already have 1 rank in there, which is good. Survival and technology. Survival is exactly what it is. And it can apply in a lot of different ways. Technology is anything that is technological sciences, so computers and things like that, mechanics. So you can put stuff wherever you want. You have 3 to spend.
I think, let's see. I think I want a little bit of alertness. Let's put 1 in alertness, and the last 2, let's put 2 into culture. Let's make very cultured.
Sounds good. So we're not going to specialize just yet, but it's something that you can think of about later. Specialization means when you do specialization, you get to write on one of those lines under a skill what you specialize in and fill that bubble in instead. So you're still investing a skill rank. So you need to have 1 to spend to do that. And what it means is instead of rolling the D20 plus the die level that you're at, you get to roll the D20 plus the die level where you are and every die below it and take the best result of all of those dice. So you have a better chance of getting the score that you need and a better chance of critical success. But right now, I think this is a pretty good spread of skills.
Level 1, I think, let's get a handle on like the kinds of things I want to dive into before picking.
There's always time to specialize later, and you'll level up pretty quickly. Level 1 to level 2 is a pretty quick jump. Okay. The last one is social.
And the world is my oyster.
Yeah. So your cleverness is a 15. We're going to do the calculation exactly the same way. We're going to put the 5 in the essence. The perks and the bonus are blank right now. And then that means your morphed cleverness is also a 15.
Looks good to me.
And that means that if somebody makes some sort of social attack, tries to trick you or anything like that, that you're defending with cleverness. Like, you can't trick me. You can't lie to me. And you can make either they're making a roll against your cleverness, basically, to see if they can. So that's a pretty high score for cleverness, especially at level 1. And you have your performance that was dictated to you by your first social essence that was given to you, but you just put 4 more in there, so you can spend 4 more.
So let's see. I think I'm gonna put 1 more into performance. Like, I think like they're a pretty decent chef, but I don't think they're at the apex of their skill in that quite yet. But I think that I'm also gonna actually put 3, the remaining 3, all into persuasion, I think.
Oh, so you're ditching animal handling. I see how it's going.
Yeah. I don't think I need to. I feel like my character may not have encountered farm animals quite yet, but when we do, then I'll decide to be like, oh, I should really think about learning more about animals. I can add that to their character arc.
I like it. I like it a lot, actually. Okay, cool. So for persuade, you're a very persuasive character at level 1 because you are already rolling a D6 plus.
Yeah, I think they're so nice. Everyone, they're so nice. Everyone likes them.
Yeah, it's the whole kill them with kindness, right?
Yeah.
All right. So that part is now all done. The only thing that we really need to do, because you already selected your equipment, is we want to fill in. Well, I'm jumping ahead, actually. We want to describe your character at this point. So now you have a lot of things that have informed maybe your character description. We know that you are. We know that you are a kind artisan who is a chef. Like, I don't know what you want your outfit to look like, but you can choose it to look like your same Ranger spectrum color. Most people do.
Yep,
doesn't have to.
The traditional method.
But it also can look like any type of suit you want. You can borrow the aesthetic from a particular favorite season, or you can make it up yourself. Your suit doesn't even have to necessarily look like a traditional suit. And your helmet choices, what you want to describe your character, what do they look like? And that's just morphed. You also might want to describe what your character looks like in their everyday life as well. And that's something you can think about and then write.
This is one I would definitely want to coordinate with the team to figure out, like, oh, what's our theme? Are we going with are we going with animals? Are we going with dinosaurs? Are we going with like elements? Like, I feel like there's a lot of different fun themes that I know me and my friends were always like, oh man, they should do one based on like they should do like a fantasy monster themed one where one's a manticore and one's a griffin, and like cool. Back before we knew that was a thing that they had done at that point. But like, like, oh man, like I had seen one concept of like using like universal monsters as the theme of like a vampire and a wolf man. But yeah, like that would be definitely one I would want to talk to my team about what kind of, what the broad theming is. But yeah,
that's great. And you could also, if everybody on your team wants to do something different, you can also do it like Shattered Grid style, right?
That's true,
and it can be everybody can be whatever they want to be. And then when it comes time, when you have your Zords, which comes in at level 3, and then your Megazord, then you get to be really creative on how that's all put together and what that looks like. Obviously, having a theme will help determine what that's going to look like later, but something that's fun and unique and maybe jumbled themes would come up with something really funny and quirky as a Megazord. So that's always fun to do all together. So once you have your character description, and maybe eventually your name, you want to fill all of the rest of that out at the top. And the only thing left to do, especially since we did already choose our weapon, is to then fill out the attacks on those. So we know that you are unskilled in might right now because you didn't put any skill ranks in there. So your Blade Blaster blade attack, the melee attack, is going to be unskilled, which just means you can still do it.
It's just not that great with it.
And then and your Blade Blaster, if you shoot it,
targeting is also not great.
So also unskilled. So under attack, you want to write unskilled for that. So maybe that doesn't come out unless it's absolutely necessary. But you never know. just because you're rolling at a snap does not mean you're going to fail. You could roll high on both rolls. And then for your weapon, we know that is, oh, wait a second. Which I needed to
Using the golden power staff.
It was finesse, correct?
Yep.
I know the finesse was the requirement. And sorry, boop, boop. I am finding it. Why can I not find it anymore? Oh, there it is. I was looking right at it. So yes, it is a reach weapon and a ranged weapon. Oh, because you can fire.
Yeah, because it can shoot a
you
beam.
Probably when you level up, you're going to want to put something in targeting.
Yeah.
But as a reach weapon,
I do think it would be very funny for them to be like, "Oh God, I can shoot a laser." Like they don't know, they don't know what it does yet, so they have to like, "Oh shoot, I have to practice with this."
I mean, you'll know what it does. It just will probably miss the target.
Right. I'm saying I know, but the character, like as they're discovering their powers, like this is their first rodeo. Like they don't.
Oh yeah, of course.
Right. So they're like, "Oh no, yeah." I think that'll be fun.
Yeah, and again, if you do want to make that targeting with it, you still can. Again, like I just said with the blade blaster, you can still try and usually you will still. Well, I don't know how to say usually, but you can still hit even if you're rolling at a snap.
It's not like it would be impossible. It's just like, yeah.
But it's, I mean, better than nothing, right? If you're far away and you can never get up to your.
It's better than like throwing a rock.
The nice thing about that particular weapon, the golden power staff, is that its reach is doubled. So you can actually hit something that is 10 feet away from you instead of 5 feet away from you.
Love
so and it's a finesse weapon, so you're using that. So it's almost like you have a small range, plus you have that high finesse to use it. So I cannot wait to see this one in action. I want to see you play with this character.
That'll be fun.
But we are done. That's it.
Yeah, awesome. Oh man, I'm super excited.
Me too. I want to get everybody who's doing these together now and play. I don't know how we can make that happen, but I'm saying it on a video now. So maybe we can figure that out, or at least get you in a little quick home scenario and see how it goes. I know we're going to try to get these put up for people to see your builds right on a character sheet. And so that will be super fun. We have a lot of really cool things planned for Power Rangers month next month,
that'll be super fun.
February, and leading into Renegade Con. And so, yeah, I'm so excited you got to sit with me and do this today.
Yeah, thank you so much for walking me through this. This was really great. I can't wait to play. Let's see. And by the time we post it, I'll definitely have decided on a final name for this character.
Good, because I'm going to be really curious to see what my new best friend chef, who's going to make me all yummy goodness, is going to be. I'm going to have to move to whatever town you are living in and visit with my character. So sounds good. All right. Well, thanks, Jonathan, so much. And everybody watching, thank you for tuning in. We will see you next time.
Yeah. Adios.
Bye.